Hello, sound lovers. Welcome, one and all, to SoundPower. We are 13 episodes deep into this podcast. And finally, at long last, we've attracted the one guest that I asked Martin for when we first started this podcast, the guest that I wanted to start the podcast for, so we could bring in heaven's resident earth angel herself onto our podcast. She needs no introduction. Charlotte Church. Welcome to SoundPower, babes.
Hello, sweetie. So good to be with you.
Great to have you, and thank you so much for joining. I'm here with the maestro, Tim Rita, and we are so delighted to have Charlotte on. And across the many different ways and the different rabbit holes of your life that we could delve into, what I think is most important for us and for our listeners on this podcast is that we hear from you. When we hear your story, the way you want to tell it, we want to hear who you are now, what you're all about. And I know that there has been, so much controversy and media and tabloids ruling the narrative in your life. So this is a moment for us to hear from you, your way.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's been a hard won narrative to claw back. That is for certain. But yes, thank you for this opportunity and this space and this beautiful exploration of all things sound and beauty and healing. And yeah, it's wonderful to be with you both. And yeah, even in the digital realm, I can feel your beautiful energy coming through the binary algorithms.
Oh, wow. Supersonic tonic connections across the ether. So sound, beauty, these are two of the things that you've been championing since the age of 11, probably, and way beyond. We often ask our guests as we begin is how you became so obsessed and healthily addicted to sound. So tell us about your childhood and how music and sound was the golden thread that weaved your life together and brought us to where you are now.
Absolutely. I think that I grew up in a proper working class household in South Wales. Like loads of my family members are singers, like cabaret singers. I've got a cousin who's an Elvis impersonator, but lots of family members would do like the pubs and clubs around Cardiff. And so whenever we got together as a family, which was regular, and this is including like the extended family, like fifth and sixth cousins, then there would never be a DJ. Everybody would bring their mini discs or their tapes, and everybody would sing. And so from really early on, I would always have these sort of heightened experiences as a kid where everybody got together. There was lots of partying and revelry and alcohol and stuff around it as well. But for the kids, when we were all together, we were just like this little pack that was left to it. And then everybody would get up and sing, and then also all the kids would have a party piece as well. And so my party piece when I was quite young was stuff like Tomorrow from Annie, and On My Own from Les Mis, and Ben by Michael Jackson. And I also did a lot of dancing when I was a kid. I was in lots of different dance classes, different styles. And so music just felt like it was absolutely threaded throughout. I used to go every Sunday with my Bambi, my granddad, to either the boardwalk or the schooner in the afternoon. And that's where like loads of oldies, like all of his generation of people would get up and do jazz standards and country and sometimes there'd be an organist, or sometimes there'd be, sheet music involved. But again, often it would be sort of mini discs or bring your cassettes and so it was just like, it was really the lifeblood of my experience. And also the fact that it was live music regularly and not sort of like live instrumental music with musicians and sort of accompaniment and that, but just a lot of singing, in sort of like pop, cabaret, soul, jazz, maybe not so much folk, but if you understand, like just really rooted in the working class experience as well. And Yeah. And so then when I was about 8, and by this point, you know, I'd been singing since I was 3, basically, up on stage, doing dance performances, just singing all the time in all sorts of situations and environments. And then when I was about 8, I was doing a church social, which was like this yearly massive talent show that they did, which was connected to our local parish, which my nana was, you know, like a pretty deep Catholic. And yeah, and so I sang Ben by Michael Jackson at that. And I can remember somebody had videoed it, somebody in my family had videoed it. And I can remember watching it back with my Auntie Caroline. And my Auntie Caroline was one of my main not mentors necessarily, but somebody that I really looked up to. Because, you know, her voice and her storytelling and her movement and her costumes on stage and all of it was just like intoxicating. And I can remember there was one line in it where I got vibrato. And so we were watching it on replay and she's like, look, see what you did here? Can you hear the difference? And I was like, yeah, okay. And then so I started to get sort of, you know, more proficient and, you know, start to become more confident and all of that in singing. And then my auntie said to my mum, she's really got something here. Like, you should put her into singing lessons because, you know, in one way or another, lots of my family had sort of knackered up their voices a bit through whether it was bad living or smoking or singing from the wrong places. Like my auntie had nodules. And so my mum took her advice and found me a singing teacher. And yeah, then I found my singing teacher, Lulu, and she totally changed the way that I was singing. But so I literally, there hasn't been a time in my life that has not been about like deeply about music and sound.
Fantastic. That's amazing. It feels very natural for you. I mean, it's just what a wonderful background to actually just be so spontaneous with your music making, and I love the fact it's probably influenced you. You've got this extraordinary wide, broad, eclectic, probably taste of music, and you know, that's obviously had some influence, I guess. Fun enough, I was going to ask you about lessons because I could sense almost that it was self-taught, but there was obviously some assistance, as you say, at that age. And was that in Cardiff?
Yeah, so she was an local singing teacher, and she taught loads of different sorts of people and singers. But the route she took me down, I think we started with Somewhere Out There from American Tail. Somewhere out there. And I was this big Baltic singer at the time, just totally in my chest voice. And for like maybe the first 2 months, she just made me sing that song really quietly, really, really quietly. And so it was all about the development of my head voice then. But you know, all I wanted to do was go into my belt and show off and um yeah, and so it just started with this, yeah, development of this much smaller in my mind voice, but which was my head voice. And then we did all sorts of repertoire, some sort of sacred music, lots of folk, Celtic songs. And then as I progressed, then probably as I was reaching more like 11, then we started sort of moving into some light arias, and this sort of classical voice. Well, I think that I was just really, I had a really good ear, so I was really good at mimicking people. And yeah, and what that enabled me to do then is that you really sort of are playing with placement, because actually you're not, certainly at that age, you're not sort of abstractly thinking about things, or you're not over intellectualizing. You're just really feeling it out and experimenting, and it's a lot of fun and play and exploration. And so I feel like, yeah, working both in my sort of family context of the big belter, and then working with Louise, and then starting to develop more seriously like repertoire and different places in my body and my face, and where I could put my voice and put my sound, was where it got really exciting then.
And I sense, because I always remember one of the fondest memories I have was staying at your wonderful retreat, The Dreaming. And of course, you are an early riser, as we all know. And I always remember your 6 o'clock early morning call for us from the hallway outside the door. And it was like a standard you were singing, quite a slow ballad, but it had the most exquisite tone to it and warmth in the quality of the voice. And that brings me to thinking, yes, that obviously that assistance at that early age helped you refine and look for a tone that has just a supreme beauty in it, which is how I remember your voice. I mean, I can still hear it in my head. It was one of the most amazing wake-ups I've ever had in my life. So I only wish I lived in the same floor as you.
I give you that wake up every day, sweetie.
Oh, supreme beauty. You said it, Tim. I remember it so well myself. So for those of you that haven't managed to get yourself to The Dreaming yet, please do. It is your greatest passion, soul project, I would imagine. And that is, of all the places that we've played in the world, all the retreats we've played at, nothing has touched our heart more than that sacred land. It is the most exquisite location, with this beautiful waterfall coming down the back and the big red, I think there might be pine trees or some mega trees. This gorgeous, beautiful retreat, and to wake up to your voice as this natural vocal a cappella alarm clock. I think it was Danny Boy, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I might have sang Danny Boy when you were there, maybe. I often sing, there's a couple of different songs. Sometimes I sing Riverman, sometimes I sing Nature Boy,
Nature Boy, yeah, as well, yeah.
or Yukari, which is a Gregorian chant. I change it up depending on who's there and what they might like. And
Beautiful.
We obviously hit the jackpot because it was just fantastic that day. I just loved it. And The Dreaming as an environment beyond what you're trying to achieve and how helpful it is to people. I said to Cherub, as soon as we sort of arrived and just saw the land, I said, God, this outdoes Lord of the Rings. It's like Lord of the Rings amplified on steroids. I mean, just extraordinary. And what a gift you've given with that retreat center to so many people, I'm sure. Extraordinary.
yeah, it feels like a real privilege. It feels like a real honor to be custodian of such an incredible part of existence. And it's a big responsibility as well. Like, I feel like I'm very in touch with the more than human world as well, in general, and particularly on that land of the Elan Valley. And so my dad was calling.
Dad.
He might call again. He often doesn't get the memo of something else might be happening. So I'm sorry if that happens again. But yeah, I feel like a very it feels like a big responsibility, but it feels like, a privilege and an honor to be connecting people in that extraordinarily magical place where I really feel that the veil between the worlds is thin. It feels like a different realm, in a way. And then also just like all of the threads when you're really listening deeply, and then you're allowing the threads to sort of weave themselves. And then the fun of being able to curate an experience for people that is held in that sort of awe and wonder and childlike play, and the dreamscape too, and to be soothed by beauty. So like one of the things that I love about that singing in the morning when people come to one of my retreats, either Song of the Soul or Witch or Belonging, is that I part of what I'm trying to create is I'm trying to create like this microcosm of experience where people feel their preciousness, they really start to believe and feel so much nurture and love from the human beings in that ecosystem, but also from the ecosystem, from the broader ecosystem. And they're so soothed by the beauty of it all, that they start to understand that actually the whole idea of balance and balance within their own systems, it doesn't have to be as complicated as we think. It doesn't need thousands of pounds spent on, all sorts of different therapeutic approaches or medication and all of that has its role. And, who am I to say what's right for different individuals? But I suppose part of it for me is also coming from, not necessarily a socialist perspective, because I'm sort of like, I'm a bit done with the political frameworks in which we're all trying to, hobble on in. But it's like, yeah, I feel like it is about being able to keep zooming out into your broader context all the time. That it's not just about mental health. How could it be about mental health? Like it's about all of these interconnecting webs of systems and relations throughout your whole body, throughout your whole environment, which are all deeply interwoven and interweaving in this constant dance of experience. And I think there's a certain surrender to that in a way, because because it's so complex. You're just like, there is no way that I'm ever going to even understand my own body. Even I could never understand really the complexity of the microbiome in my gut, let alone the magnetic resonance, so the magnetic field of my heart, and how these are all of these systems are interweaving with the plants around me and the other humans, and then they have that much complexity as well. So I feel like that there's an almost surrendering when you allow in this idea of just how exquisite and exquisitely complex this world is that we are in.
Well, I mean, I would say to you, it's so welcoming for one. It's a multi-sensory experience. I love the fact from the food itself, which is exquisite. I mean, it's like sort of 6-star Michelin star quality, but it's healthy as well. And then I think so many facets for the soul and the heart that you offer, from the movement to, as you say, the friendship, the camaraderie. And it does allow people to open up very freely and safely. You've created a wonderful place of safety that is so needed. I mean, we need your dreaming on every street corner almost.
Don't forget about the silent disco at sunrise, barefoot with about 3 different channels on the silent headphones with personally curated playlists by Charlotte, which I still listen to. They're amazing. And what I love about your journey, and it's very much reflected in Tim's journey as well, is the full spectrum of musical variety that you've both had. You've actually both walked that path from music being somewhat of a lifeline and a salvation amidst semi-chaotic working class times, which both Tim and I can relate to as well. But then the journey of rising up to be this child star at age of 11, singing classical music on a global stage. I remember where I was when I first heard that, and then moving into the pop genre. I was the same age as you when those pop songs came out, loved them, iconic. And then moving through this journey to where you are now, and you've arrived at the same point that we've arrived at. Sound healing, that sound is this totally multifaceted experience that can awaken, heal, transform, uplift, reconnect to ourselves, each other, the planet, the cosmos, and beyond. And to sense and see that you're on that journey yourself, and seeing you with a gong and with a shooty box and singing, and the 3 of us have actually performed together at the Dreaming, which was the greatest honor, and long may that continue. So tell us the journey from there to there. How did you arrive at
Yeah.
using sound as a therapeutic medium?
It's a great question. I wanted to say the same. I mean, what inspired you to discover the realm of sound healing, sound therapy, the benefits of sound? We know it's extraordinary entertainment, and you have achieved that so well with so many people. But really getting to grips to the core of the matter, how sound can affect us on so many different levels beyond our happiness or joy at hearing you or other people. So what brought you to that revelation?
I think that in part, since since meeting the land at the Elan Valley, and at the time when I first went there, and this house was for sale, and um, I had just given birth to my third child, Frida, and she was only about 3 months. So I was deeply in that mother phase when you're so permeable, you're so open, you're so just in this in the mother realm. And I don't just mean like the individual mother realm, I mean like the realm of creation, the realm of the mother. And so, and also I was completely and utterly trusting of this path, of this land, and just being led. So I feel like I've just been I feel like a little piggy with a little ring through my nose that is just being led from understanding to situation, and just really just allowing myself to sort of follow um to follow my intuitive. Hang on, somebody's gonna knock the door. 2 seconds.
No worries. No worries. We will talk amongst ourselves. I love this. Have I got time to go off and make a cuppa? No.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll take it from here. Make me one as well.
Oh, this is fantastic, actually, because I am really interested to know the core of what perhaps experience or inspiration influence Charlotte to come into this field. Yeah, and which, encompasses what we're talking about, the power of sound.
Exactly, and how people from many different walks of the sonic spectrum can arrive at the same destination. They're all on the same path, the same journey, different paths.
Hey, welcome back, Charlotte. Welcome back.
Um, yeah, so I feel like it's a natural progression. Maybe when you get out of the ego and out of the performance, I am an artist, and artistry and all of that is absolutely wonderful. And it is, it is a great service that the great artists and the great creators and the great songwriters and musicians, have done for us. We are standing on the shoulders of giants, and I feel so lucky to have this life path that is so deeply interwoven with music. I literally don't know what I do without it. It has been such a constant place of a solace, and yeah, just it's the best thing in the world.
Yes.
We agree.
101%, I agree with you. I mean, it's a salvation for so many of us. It's our savior, isn't it, to a degree? I know, I just wish everybody could be turned on to the world of music within them, just to feel.
But also realizing and accepting that it's all medicine. I was, I think, 19 or 20 when your Call My Name song came out. And I still remember that music video to this day, when you walk off with the one-man band trumpet thing to go on the stage with the drum banging. That was so iconic and gave me the freedom to express myself more. And it was sexy but playful and girly and feminine. The music video was wicked. And that was healing too. That was medicine for me at that age, discovering who I was. So I think your whole journey has been sound healing. It's not just that now because you've got a gong you've become a sound healer. You've always been that, but now the fact that you've elevated to that level where you're doing it from more of a place of this heart-centered, compassionate, connected to the community, and the community work that you do as well, which is aligned with your social activism and again aligned to the dreaming. It almost gives the mass populace permission to make that shift as well towards sound as a therapeutic medium. It's a powerful thing, and you've become a real advocate of it. So it's done the whole field a benefit too, so everyone can start to tap into the wonders of it. You've made it full, basically.
Oh, bless you, my darling. And I do think that for me that is part of the key to it. Like if there is part of what my life path has been, and the power in which it's given me, potentially where I can be a sort of permission giver to others. And I think that, often I talk about when I'm working in sound, and I work in sound in so many different ways now. And the one area which I'm incredibly excited about is collaborative vocal improvisation. And collaborative vocal improvisation is exactly what it sounds like, really. You're with a group of people and you're using your voice in which to improvise together. And there are different forms that you can hang it off, which give it a little bit of structure, or you can give it none at all, and you're literally just improvising and creating from the void with other voices. It's so beautiful, and it's so it's like a meditation on impermanence. You just create this thing together with other human beings, this little jewel, this precious, gorgeous thing. And then when it's done, as my improvisation teacher Bryony says. When it's done, and then it's gone. But also when you're doing it, when you're involved in it, you are thinking about nothing else. Nothing else exists in the whole world apart from this sound, this music that you're creating together with your voices. And also, so much of what is possible with that then is to start to dispel these ideas of you can't join in unless you're in tune, and yet unless your voice sounds a certain way. When you strip all of that away and you're just like, sing any note. And actually, if we're all making a cluster chord, that's going to sound amazing. That's like the music of space. And people do it, and then they hear it, and then it's intoxicating.
Well, I'm so glad you said that, because my immediate thought then was, wow, that sounds so cool, I want to try it. And then my second thought was, oh my God, but what would I be able to do? What if I couldn't get the note right? What if I'm not in tune? What if it comes to my bit and I can't think of a melody and I'd be embarrassed? And so what would you say to people that are listening to this and thinking, I could never be brave enough to do that? And I'm someone who sings outwardly as part of what I do. It's part of my passion. So I wonder how other people might respond to this. And what would you say? How do you overcome that fear of just expressing yourself creatively without it being rigid singing?
Well, so in the Song of the Soul retreat that I hold with my wonderful colleagues Deborah and Johnny at the Dreaming, it's like a really laddered thing. It's really gentle, like tiny step by tiny step. People have got a lot of stuff around their voice. And personally, I think it's the quickest way to soul. I think it's the quickest way to understand really what's happening, what's going on, how you're feeling. I think that lots of the and there's also just so much stored and sort of like repressed here, which is not just about voice or music or creativity. There's stuff which is about like imagination and expression and not being told to speak or being told to shut up but that might not just be from childhood, that might be in a relationship. There's just so much stored here. And as soon as it's just a very gentle, it's so deliciously easy in a way. People often come to us, probably about 60% of the people who come to Song of the Soul are non-singers, and lots of them say that they're tone deaf. And by the time they finish with us, they cannot stop singing. They literally cannot stop. And it's just joyful.
Well, it is joyful and it's just amazing. I mean, to a degree, I follow a similar pattern. I know when we work with people with the voices, we have likewise quite a diverse variety of people that come to us. And I say, you're all welcome. We do this as a group. You're totally safe, etc. No one's singled out, for example. And I loved it when you said, even if they're singing out of tune, I say, well, listen, it just makes more color in the chord. It's fine, actually. So what you are providing, what we're aware of, is to give people that freedom. It's almost like a passport, just self-expression, which is so valid for so many people. I mean, as an anecdote, I remember Cherub and I, we had some Chinese people visiting very briefly from China, and we did a sort of, drumming thing. Do you remember with them, Cherub? And by the end of the hour, they were standing on tables and chairs and totally liberated and free. And you almost got the insight that perhaps this is the first time they'd been given permission to be free in that realm. And you're saying exactly the same thing. It's such a beautiful experience for anybody to have.
And we've had it too, because when we came to Song with a Soul and we collaborated with you, you guided us all through it, and you lay someone in the middle, and we all sang and weaved together, and it was held so gently and so gracefully, and so it does give people the permission to just open their mouth and see what sound comes out without having that internal judgment. And it was a gorgeous experience, and I hope we get to come to a Dreaming again.
Me too. But also, I've got to say as well, like Cherub, you were really helpful for me when I was starting to think about, if I'm opening this retreat, I really want to use what I've got. I really want to be able to sort of work in sound, but I was just feeling very like, but I have no concept, no idea, no framework for how to do this. And so I was looking for elders and sort of apprenticeships and people that I could sort of follow and work with, and I did do that, and I found some wonderful teachers, but early on at the time, I was sort of quite shyly and a bit like anxiously talking to you about how I was envisioning doing my first sound journey, and that I'd made this whole like I can't remember what it's called,
A storyboard.
Yes, I made this whole storyboard for the journey I wanted people to go on, and how I wanted the feelings and the sort of images and the pictures I wanted to conjure, and how I was going to create that in sound. And you, Cherub, just said to me, "Yeah, that's brilliant, and that's a really interesting way to do it, and that's really cool. And none of it's ever right or wrong, but this sounds great. But also, you've been doing this for such a long time. Just use your voice." And just sing. Like, it's where a lot of sound healers are trying to get to, is that like freedom of expression with their voice. So you've already got so much in the backpack. Don't think like you come in at this as a total novice. And that was so helpful. You just dispelled. I mean, I think because I just had so much respect for you both, and I understood sort of how brilliant that you were in this field, in this realm, and how much you're respected, that just like literally shook away so many of my misgivings and my sort of, ruminating nonsense on it, really. And you were just like, just sing. And I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And
The most simple advice, just think. And I think that when it's a gift that is so natural to you now at this point, after all these years, you don't realize the potency of it, because it's so easy to do it. But actually, it's the thing that makes what you do so powerful and so pure. And it's why the Dreaming is so successful, is people want to swim in your channel to actually tap into that essence. And it was hilarious, when we did our first collaboration together, us three, at the Dreaming, Tim introduced you to the Shruti box. It was like, is it on? Pump it. Shruti box, for our listeners, is like a mini harmonium. And he was pumping it and saying, now, Charlotte, we're going to use this. Try and weave in some vocals with us as well as you can. And then we started it, and you very humbly took the lesson, listened, and we did the gig together. It's amazing. And then after the gig had finished, you taught us a thing or two about that Shruti box, playing it in a way that we'd never even thought to play it, singing like a choir of angels, one person, making the Shruti box sound like a 12-piece orchestral band. And Tim was like, I see. Okay, she already knows about the Shruti box. it's that humble nature, and it's just so adorable and irresistible. So the fact that you even thought you were entering this field as a beginner it blows my mind. You are sound healing personified.
Oh, bless you both. That means so much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you are the voice of an angel and the voice of the people. I mean, it's just exquisite what you offer, actually. Can I just jump subject for a minute? I'm very curious about your new album and what that entails. Could you go? You've got a lot of, obviously you're singing, but what's the style that you're going to be presenting in your new album?
Oh my good gosh. Wow, wow, wow.
Is it in a long project?
So basically I've been self-releasing music since my early 20s. And I made a couple of like very experimental, very uncompromising EPs, 4 EPs. And then I was taking a bit of time because I was working with amazing musicians, but I sort of had to um uh, I suppose re-nurture my little creative self. I'd been so exploited, and I'd been so um and nobody had ever really taken the time to nurture my innate musicality, or do you know what I mean? Like it had never really been um nurtured or even witnessed-ish to a certain degree. I did have a lot of support at different points, but anyway, so I just needed, I think, just a totally clean break. And it's taken up until now. And it also, it's taken my journey with sound healing and viewing sound in a different way to sort of come back in a sovereign way, where I feel, even though, I'm not a lone ranger, I love to play with others. That is the spice of it, the juice of it, all of the magic that everybody brings, and the alchemy, and, the potion of it all, is what I love most. But I suppose sovereign in my, um, ability to go, this is how I hear it. And actually, then this is what I want to create. And so even if it doesn't make much sense to you right now, producer, musician, whomever I'm working with, in my mind, it's a sandy landscape. And what that sandy landscape sounds like is, a drone. But I think that because I hadn't had that traditional music education, so I don't have the language of music, and I still don't have the language of music. Um, and that I'm in two minds with that, whether, I mean, maybe at some point I will sort of fully educate myself in the language of music and maybe learn to play some instruments. But right now, I feel like the way in which I interpret music is totally through my sensory self, and not necessarily in any sort of cerebral way. And so my next musical project is, I think, the first thing that I've ever done that really feels sovereign, that really feels like it is actually of my spirit totally. And I'm so excited about it. But I mean, it traverses all sorts, all of the music that I love, which is gospel, R&B, dance, classical, folk, um, lots of weird little side steps into all sorts of things. But so there's going to be lots of instrumentation, lots of different instruments, harps and strings and beats. And I'm really hoping next year, because part of it is it's a real sort of story, I think, and it's a real story of what I think is happening in the world. And for me, my personal awakening. And that happened with Gaza. And it was really through witnessing the absolute horror that is happening in Palestine, was a further awakening to the reality of what is and what is happening in this world, and how much we are desperately needing to restore balance between the masculine and the feminine. And so this is sort of like a feminine siren song. This is more coming to the door. Sorry. Okay, Toby. Come here. It's okay.
Funnily enough, actually, siren song's exactly what Kara was planning, aren't you? We want to do an opera, don't we, with the siren.
Yeah, we reel Charlotte in for that one. Hey, that could be coming up in the future.
I love that though. And also, you know, what you're offering is almost like a healing balm to people, you know, in the circumstances of confusion, as you say, of the world, and the fragility of the human spirit and human actions. I mean, it is extraordinary. I quite agree. What you know, modern life is very complex, isn't it? Let's face it.
Absolutely. And I think that, you know, for me, the story underneath it all is the story of separation. And so how are we reframing with understanding that the masculine and the feminine are enormously out of balance, and that by restoring balance to this foundational part of existence of all energy, of all everything in this material realm, we will a lot of what ails us as a society will be rectified or brought back into balance, or, you know, start to be integrated. This healing journey is going to be long and arduous. You know, this is not just from the Industrial Revolution. This is, you know, potentially more than 10,000 years of accumulated imbalances and accumulated separations. You know, that idea of death by 1,000 cuts. And it is sort of like cuts, these separations in so many areas of our bodies and consciousness and yeah, relationship to all other, from the sort of individual human self. And so I feel like I'm so hopeful, and I'm so, you know, absolutely desolate simultaneously. It feels like a real age of extreme polarization and paradox. But I also think that is what the material realm is. And so I'm quite interested in this way of, you know, so much religion and so much spiritual practice is edging us towards the oneness, you know, all the time, and is beautiful and is wonderful and as amazing it is to attain, if we're lucky, sometimes tiny glimpses of what that is or what it might be. We are in this realm of matter. And so we must learn to balance, like everything within the human body is trying to reach homeostasis in the ecosystem that is sometimes coined as homeodynamics. So everything is like constantly in this total dance and change and flux of trying to become more in balance. And I feel like that is what I want to sort of commit my life to in music, in rearing children and young people, and in every sort of area of my life, as much as I can, is just trying to. And then also for me, who is still like, I'm still young in my journey. I've still got loads of shit in the backpack. I'm still, you know, totally not sorted.
Who is?
Possible to be. I'm so, and I think that where I've drawn so much joy and so much understanding and so much like so many of the pennies dropping for me has been through listening to Indigenous teachers in different practices and different cultural contexts all over the world, in the Shipibo tradition, and doing ayahuasca a number of times, in the Dagara tradition and Elder Malidoma Somé and all the beautiful wisdom he shares. And I'm going on a pilgrimage to Burkina Faso next year, in the so-called Australia Aboriginal tradition. And yeah, there's so much that we need to be learning from cultures which are more intact than ours. Lots of First Nations peoples who they have a lot more of the foundational pieces that Western society is missing, because we've assimilated to such a level that we've forgotten that we forgot, And I really think that my journey now is also dancing the walking the walk of, like, how can I learn to be in relationship with these people, and go on pilgrimages and try and understand how to build relationship and build music and build song lines across the world, and but not be colonialist and not be extractive about it, because that is what my and pretty much all of our mindset is. It's so deep. It's so deep in the cultural gene pool at this juncture, that so much has got to be unlearned. But I'm really looking forward to a number of pilgrimages that I'm going to do next year. And yeah, hopefully learning from peoples who have got a much deeper understanding about what this whole thing is about.
It takes courage to speak out, especially in a climate where artists can be punished for having an opinion. And Tim's always said, and I've always echoed it, that humanity progresses through the arts. So when you use your art as a channel, a conduit for expressing your message, it lands deeper, I think, for the community. So the album that you're working on, can't wait to hear it. It sounds beautiful, and it seems like it's like an arrival for you, where you've got to a point in your life where you can finally express that true soul tone that exists within. So this song of the soul that you've been helping others to awaken to, it sounds like you're arriving at your own song of the soul, and you are probably the most expressed, the most heard, the most aligned in your soul message right now, beyond any other phase in your life where you've had the world's attention, where you've been on a stage where the world is listening. You're now arrived at a new juncture, and this seems to me like this is the message that matters the most.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And it's been hard won, like, my path has been grisly and shame filled and, ugly in the depths of the and but I suppose, that is part of what it is, isn't it? Like, the gold is in the wound, and the gift is interwoven with the shadow. But also I feel that the land it's partly my connection with the land, and truly starting to understand and build relationship with a place that has helped me to anchoring and cut through any of the other bullshit that was still hanging about. But also just in, like, I've had so many amazing experiences at the Dreaming now with other human beings that's so deeply humbling when people start to open up in those spaces in circle about their struggles and about how their life has been. It's so deeply humbling. And so all of the people who have come to the Dreaming that I've held there and that have been, open and vulnerable with their stories and their beauty and their pain, have also, like, given me courage in ways that it's hard to quantify it, and that might sound like really cheesy, but it's true. Like I feel so, and I think it's deeply awe-inspiring to hear what other human beings have been through and how they've kept on keeping on, and how they've kept on finding pockets of joy, how they've managed to still love, how they've managed to still care and support. And I just find people so bittersweet. And they're just yeah. And in even when we're looking in the broadest context of, the people who are running the show, who I deeply disagree with, and but I'm desperately trying not to other, whether that's politicians or billionaires or, all of that sort of stuff. I cannot imagine what it would be like to hear their stories if they were allowed to be vulnerable, and what that might teach us, because yeah, it's just so easy, isn't it, to make somebody else the bad guy,
Yeah.
and to and to keep othering people, so that you've got a sense of belonging, and you've got a sense of moral rightness and all of that. But really, we're all complicit in many ways to what is happening. And and as hard as that is to accept, there's also a real beauty in it. And I just find it deeply humbling when people are willing to go there.
Beautifully put. Also, I don't know if your observation's the same. I found a lot of people with immense wealth. I mean, they do have their own series of issues, challenges, problems, etc. We're all there's an equality in terms of our extreme spheres to a degree, which we often cite. But yeah, there's an incredible vulnerability with everybody. And I think what you are providing, and ideally what we're all doing collectively with sound and music, is offering them some almost like a lifeline where they can get in touch with the inner feelings in safety, allow the feelings to be nurtured to express themselves. And maybe on the cellular level, literally going to all the complexities you say of us as human beings, find some solace and healing within.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the most beautiful musical things that I've ever done was when I was working with a group of people, and my teacher, Brian E. Greenhill, who's an incredible collaborative vocal improvisation teacher and leader. And it was 5 retreats over a year. And the last weekend, we were sort of of all the things that we would learn, we had the group. Each of us had the group for 2 hours by ourselves to sort of do whatever we wanted to do. It might be sort of practicing, holding, facilitation, how to do it, some deep sort of process for us. And I did something which was about separation and about connection, and particularly about my mother wound, in both my sort of maternal line, but also, my guilt, my feelings as a mother, the things that I've done wrong, all of these sorts of things held together. And it was all sung, and it was all improvised. And I was held by these 4 singers in sound. And I cannot tell you, and I've done plant medicines and stuff, and a lot of that is, it's deeply transformational work, and a lot of it can be very, very difficult to and painful to look at, all of it. But there was something about this experience where, I was really, really grieving. Like as I was singing, I was just like really letting it go, really just, yeah, letting all of the tears come, and, all of the pain and the hurt and the wounds and the frustrations. And to be held in sound at that point was unbelievable. And that sort of made me feel like that, because it was simultaneously so painful and so beautiful, and so nurturing and so gentle to be held in sound by these other human beings. It made me feel like I don't think that there's anything that we can't heal in whilst doing this. I don't think anything is too much. I don't think any shadow is too dark or ugly or because of this, like, yeah, it was a really, really powerful experience for me, which I feel so privileged and honored to have had. And Bryony is an absolute, yeah, goddess of a teacher and of a mentor, as were those people that were in retreats together, that we were all in retreat together. It was so, so amazing. And so, yeah, I absolutely highly recommend for everybody to go and have a look at doing some CBI, because it is a beautiful way to do the work, I think. And I'm looking for beauty, and I'm looking for ease, and I'm looking for richness in doing the work. For me personally, it's not about just a sort of, singularly a psychotherapeutic approach or singularly a somatic approach. But yeah, this way was good.
Well, I can believe it. This is rather like that famous beer that they say reaches other parts that other beers do not. I think there's a
Rather metaphor, but appropriate, I guess.
But no, I mean, at source, what a bridge it is to the truth of our emotions, the reality of what we feel, and the reality of vibration that we are all part of. I mean, that is our essence in the world, our collective relationship with each other. We are all these extraordinarily beautiful, vibrating beings. It's just about remembering that, isn't it, to a degree, I think. And sound, obviously, as you're explaining, can open that channel up so easily and so safely, and acts as such an extraordinary therapy. Kira, are you minding the time? Because I'm loving this. I could go on for hours.
No. Found in sound, truly found in sound, I think is the theme of this SoundPower episode. And I hope that those that are listening take this on board and find a way to move into circles where you can just start to express yourself creatively, knowing that even what it sounds like, Charlotte, is that it was even a journey for you. So even someone who has that incredible professional world-class capacity and skill set to sing, you've been on your own journey to find your true voice amidst the noise of the world and maybe the limitation that was placed on you from the external world. And I'm sure those that are listening might have those layers that have blocked them too. So just let this episode be a shining light to everyone that's listening, that you can all be found through sound. And that comes from the Earth Angel herself. So we know that it's possible. Thank you for all your amazing insight and wisdom.
Can I ask one thing, though? Martin always asked a final question, or one of his final questions, which I always love, and that is, what is your favorite sound, i.e. environmental? You're sitting there quietly and you're hearing something going on. I mean, what really touches you?
What is your favorite natural sound?
I think children laughing.
That's a good one.
It's so, whenever I walk, and it can always be heard. You're walking past the school, and there's hijinks and kids laughing and playing and having fun, and it's so joyful, and it's so tonal and tuneful, and with total wild abandon. Yeah, children's laughter.
Beautiful. That is my favorite answer yet. And secondly, who is your favorite composer or artist?
Oh, my days. Woo! I can't pick one.
Give us top 3.
Oh, top 3. You're killing me. Oh, my days. Oh gosh. I really love oh, I really love a lot of Messiaen's work. I really love John Taverner, particularly the Protecting Veil. I adore. I really, really love D'Angelo, who we've sadly just lost. He's been an enormous presence in my life from being a teenager, and his music has helped me in all sorts of ways, you know, discover and develop my sexuality, and just like what a musician. Like, yeah, the way he used his voice, just stunning. I saw Stevie Wonder live recently, and I think it's the best live experience I've ever had in my life. It was literally like a transmission from a master. Oh. And all of the songs that once were a bit cheesy in my mind, you know, things like I Just Called to Say I Love You and Happy Birthday, hearing them live and deeply receiving how he actually meant them, it's all about everyday love. It's all about like being brave to just be loving and have expressions of love every single day in every way you possibly can. And yeah, and his band was ridiculous. All of the songs are amazing. His voice, and he's, you know, 80 or maybe in his early 80s, was incredible. I really, really love Beverly Glenn Copeland as well. And I just saw him live at Llais, the Festival of Voice in Wales. I mean, so many. Dinah, Aretha, just so many.
Wow, that is a who's who. That is an absolute all-star top pick. So listeners, do your research and get a playlist built. And finally, Charlotte, what is your greatest hope for the future?
My greatest hope for the future is that we help each other and we hold each other through the realization that we are not special. I am not special. I am not better than. Because I think that is the route to separation, and that is the route to othering and the dominator complex. But it's really hard. It's really hard to come to terms with that. And you know, obviously throughout our lives, we put, you know, or our body or our survival mechanisms put in all sorts of things to protect us from that. And so my hope for the future is that we can hold each other through whatever processes people want to do for us to realize that we genuinely are all in this together. And this is our human family. You know, there have been hundreds of billions of humans on Earth in the existence of the Earth. And this lot that we're alive with, this is our human family. So we got to sort it out.
Well said. That I hope you can feel us holding you from afar, and we will be first in line for your album when it drops. Please don't wait too long. We can't wait to hear it. Thank you so much for giving us this time. May the force of the SoundPower be with you for your next album. We love you, Charlotte.
Sue, thank you so much. It's been delightful speaking to you, and you've lifted my spirits no end.
Charlotte, thank you so much. It's been fantastic. Bless you.
So much love to you both.
Bye.